Hi, my name is Przemek Glosny, and I'm a CEO and founder of Useme, a fintech, HR tech company from Poland. This is my first speech in English, so please excuse me for being a bit nervous. If you wonder, it's not a hangover, that's just my voice. Okay, we're done with small talk, so let's get to the presentation. The topic of today's meeting is how to scale up a company with a small team and no funds, and it's a Useme case study. We have two heroes of that story. In the middle left corner, you can find a typical unicorn. It's a 4-year-old, well-grown child from the United States with many rich parents. In the middle right corner, you can find Useme, whom I represent. Although I said it's a typical unicorn, actually we know the figures of the very first one because it's our direct competitor. It looks a bit scary if we look at those numbers. And sometimes I wish I was born in the United States. Doesn't look better if we look at the team size. So we feel like Spartans at the war with Persians, except that we are not Spartans. Because they hired like a lot of great experts, and there are 40 of us, not even Spartans. But something seems a bit surprising when we dig more into figures. I read a report from the typical unicorn, and it's based on 100,000 transactions they made between 2020 and 22. We checked our figures, we had 129,000 transactions at the very same time. So we realized we have almost the exact figures, having, roughly speaking, 50 to 700 fewer resources. But then the real life comes. It took them 4 years to reach that figures, and it took us 9 years to reach the same numbers. And probably this typical unicorn will grow a few times faster in the next few years. And we also have very limited resources. So how can we deal with that? Let me start the presentation for a moment, and let me just explain you why we didn't go for the fundraising. So we are, as I said, we are based in Poland. We don't deal with that kind of money as typical unicorn from the United States. We cannot compete with that kind of fundraising. So we decided to scale up within Europe with the money we earn. And then when we prove that we can scale up our business abroad, we're gonna try to look for some funds to go global. Another thing, we have no chances if it comes to the short-term period. We can just focus, we need to focus just on the long-term period. So that's the story starts from here. I hope you find some hints interesting for you. Perhaps one day you're gonna need to scale up something with a small team, no funds or just limited resources. Let's get back to the presentation. And just first things first, what the hell is Useme? So we are a service for freelancers and employers. We just sign contracts with employers online, and we issue tax invoice for the employers. We just allow freelancers to sell remote work that way. That way, employers can don't have to care about the compliance or any kind of bureaucracy. On the other hand, freelancers can have their money faster the way they want, PayPal, Payoneer, whatever, and it's safe for them. Employers can download work files only after paying for them. We could say we transfer remote work for money. Also at Useme, we have a marketplace with like more than 70,000 job posts published on it. And we do have a database of freelancers, and that's like more than 100,000 freelancers right now there. If we look at our main metrics, and these are number of contracts and our revenue, you can see that we started pretty slowly, but then in 2016, we came up with a kind of innovation that employers don't have to register in order to get an invoice for the job done. And since that time, we double our transactions every second year, and we double our revenue every year. If we look at the number of employees at that time, it didn't rise so much. So since we have had several transactions per month in 2014, we just then moved to 1,000 transactions per month, and we just hired like 2 people more. Let me just say that we needed to have this 4 people at the very beginning because we started from the European Union grants, and actually we didn't really need them. Then we acquired some angel investors in 2018, and we just hired some more people. And from that, like 2018, we just started just bootstrapping. We haven't raised any money. We had some rounds for crowdfunding, but it wasn't like just for the money, but mainly for the marketing reason. Okay, so that's the story about Useme. Let's get to the point. It's a product drive conference, so let's start from the product. And from now on, the typical unicorn is just a typical unicorn. It's based on facts and real examples of several different companies. So first rule we follow, focus. It's we get it from the book, from Jim Collins' book, From Good to Greater. And what's the story about this fox and hedgehog? It's based on an ancient Greek parable recalled by the book. And it says the fox knows a lot of things, but the hedgehog knows one big thing. Long story short, you need to answer one question. What is the one thing you might be the best at in the world? So we asked our users what they value most of Useme. They said that they like the simplicity of our service, they like our customer service, and they like that we send money fast. So nobody mentioned anything about our marketplace or database. So even though we were leaders, if it comes to marketplace for freelancers in Poland at that time, and we are still now, we decided to kill all the projects concerned on our marketplace. We didn't kill the marketplace. We need it, but it became. I mean, we made it freemium, and we don't focus on fancy features. All we care about is just a simple and fast journey to money on a freelancer's account. Another book I want to recommend you is Andrew Chen, The Cold Start Problem. It's not like we have any rules from that book, but we just realized about some facts about our company. So first, atomic network. What's the atomic network? It's the smallest possible network of people where the tool becomes useful. So if we focus on the marketplace, then we had to acquire several thousand, several hundred thousands of people in each market to make it work. But Andrew Chen recalls other examples, like for example, Slack. The atomic network is just one company. And another example is Zoom. So for Zoom, 2 people having like excellent experience with a meeting online is enough to make that tool works great. And it's pretty the same if it comes to Useme. One happy freelancer and his or her client are enough to make Useme work great. Another thing we got from the Andrew Chen book is every marketplace has 2 sides. It's like easy side to acquire and so easy side and a hard side. Easy side is easy to acquire, hard side is hard to acquire. So what we do, we have a premium marketplace, as I said, so we attract freelancers. Then when a freelancer come to our site, we just tell them, actually our core business is about accounting, remote job. Invite your own client and make the money come fast to your account. So that way, they invite employers to our site. And it's like they invite hard side. So we acquire hard side for free. Andrew Chen recalled a story about the competition between Uber and Lyft. So they paid for invitation of new drivers. So Uber paid 200 for a new driver, and then Lyft raised the price to 250. So the answer from Uber was to raise it to 750, I guess. We don't have that kind of money, so we decided to acquire our hard side for free. Last thing about product, it's not really obvious, it's a customer service. I bet you don't really connect customer service with the product, but it's connected. So especially when you work with money transaction, efficient customer service is kind of like a must-have. So if you can see at this picture here, we don't we don't work on a farm of workers on the help desk. We just try to make it smart. 51% of our users claim that they have no problems using Useme. So this is 51% users that don't have any questions to our customer service. And then if you look at our numbers, we have like less than 2 hours to solve each problem of our users. So it's not like 2 hours to answer, it's 2 hours to solve the problem. Let's get to the second part, it's marketing, but it's gonna be short though. Okay, we have learned how to live with limited resources. If you look at those numbers here, you can see that we acquire more than 50% of our new users just for free. I know that typical unicorn like has to spendings, they have like a lot of money for paid campaigns. If it comes to Useme, we paid campaigns on the third, like on the third position if it comes to the acquisition. I found a quote from Paul Graham. It's from the book How to Start a Startup, and it's stated there: whenever you hear someone talk about growth hacks, just mentally translate it in your mind into bullshit. So growth hacks is bullshit. What we do, it's like what we do, it's not a rocket science. We do actually what probably you do the same. So we work on content, we try to enhance referrals. We do have pretty good freemium service because it's the marketplace. It's also SEO friendly. And we chose the marketing automation rather than a team of sales accountants. Like we hired first people to our sales team like a year ago. And let's get to the third part of that presentation. It's a team, and it's the most important part of the presentation because everything we achieved with our team. Okay, here we can see pictures of our long-time employees. And right now we earn more money, so we can hire good people. But years later, we need to grow them. We need them to make them grow with Useme. So we try to make them stay long with Useme. And right now we try to mix all the experienced people we hire with the experienced people, with the people experienced, but just by the very fact of working for Useme and long for Useme. So right now, like Michał and Michael, who's the CTO, who's like started to work with me at the very beginning, can work with David, and they came up with some idea to change Scrum into Shape Up. I'm gonna tell you about it later. And all the people that work long for Useme right now can work with really good experts. Very fun story about Philip. Philip was the kind of average team worker of customer service, and he resigned from Useme in 2017, and then he started to work for like pretty huge companies like Booking.com, for example, and Opera. And so he as a growth marketer, and he had learned his lessons with someone else's money, so it's great for us. And he came back to us in 2020. How you make people stay along with you? You need to work on the company's culture. I know it's a buzzword. I mean, everybody's just using it all the time, but I don't want to persuade you that it's not. Just look at our numbers and you see that since 2017, nobody has resigned from Useme. Actually, we have a mistake here. In 2017, there should be blue because that was Philip who resigned and who came back to us in 2020. And another thing, we don't do too many layoffs. I mean, we kind of changed our mindset lately. So we decided if we deal with people, we need to fire them fast. Because like this year, we fired 2 people after 1 month, and there were 2 developers, and they just didn't fit our teams. And we spoke with Michał about it and said, okay, we know what about it right now. So do we want to wait like another 6 months to waste hour and daytime? No. So we just decided to resign from them, and they just found the next job very next day, so it wasn't a problem for them. We just need people that fit our team. And what actually means this company culture? What does it mean for Useme? Okay, so that's another book I want to recommend you. Funny story is like I haven't read it. Actually, I met a project manager from Barcelona on on some conference, and he told me about the holacracy. You can read about the holacracy in the book by Brian J. Robertson, but what we need to what we try to achieve with that kind of organization scheme. So we had a problem with delegating responsibility. That was me who was the blocker, and people were like asking me all the questions, and I tried to. So I decided it took me 2 months to draw those circles. I mean, actually, people use me call it those X, but it took me 2 months to draw it, and of course there was a few rules about it. So first one, the most important one was we from now on we want to say people what needs to be done rather than how to do it. It's just every team responsibility for every given task to make it to work good, to make it to do it good. And I was really surprised by improvements I didn't know anyone was working on at all. So it worked really good, but it didn't work out our second problem, communication. So it was a Ben Horowitz who said that hard thing is not to set up organizational chart, but hard things to make people communicate within that organization the way you design it. So since I learned how to draw better, I try to put our organization scheme to look more like a process. If you look at it, there's like an internal. I mean, this blue line is about our internal communication. Internal communication is run by our product team, so it can go both ways. All teams need to communicate with each other, like the process of the project. But on the other hand, our external communication is just one way. External communication and the circulation flow. So if we start a project, it starts from IT, then it goes through marketing, and it finishes within the help desk with our users' feedbacks. Users' feedbacks we get from our users. If we start like a shorter project that doesn't need IT resources, then we started from marketing, so they prepare the content, but then the rest work the same. We finish it with the users' feedback from our help desk. So we discuss the business goals with the product team, and the product team cooperates with other teams within the whole organization. But templates are not enough. We needed to make it work. So there were few tools we used to make it work. The first one is like we exchange Scrum into ShapeUp. It's like we had problems with doing things on time when we were doing this Scrum sprints. So it was like David, our new head of product, who came up with the idea of ShapeUp. And instead of 2 week sprints right now, we work like on 2 month sprints. So we have like 6 weeks to develop a feature and then 2 weeks of cold down. But actually, we don't develop features anymore. We try to develop values for users, and it's based on like the idea of pitch. So it's like the pitch is the kind of document when you try to write what's the problem for our users, how we want to solve it, and what are the KPIs. All the ShapeUp is based on Ryan Singer's book ShapeUp. It's another book I haven't read by David head. So I don't know. Right now, I don't know. I don't have to know everything. We have people to be responsible for that. Okay, and if you want to read about the ShapeUp, I recommend you to read that book. But all you need to know right now is like everyone in the company is allowed to. I mean, can write a pitch, and that's because we have like full information for everyone in the company. So everyone can get access to all the metrics, all the information about the company. We try to make people know that what they do, it's really implements. I mean, it's important for the whole company. The rest of the next 2 roles are like I think I don't have to explain them. But I think we can summarize that we evaluate teammates by trainings, experiments, and lesson learned from mistakes. We allow people to make mistakes. We just try to don't repeat them. And one of the last things, we let people work. So it's kind of also it's a base camp idea. I heard about it from the CEO on one of the online conference. And actually, that was the only thing I remember from that conference. So I hope you have a better experience from that one. What does that mean? Okay, so we think, I mean, it works for us that only 2 to 3 people meeting is truly effective. And I probably know the thesis of Jeff Bezos that if 2 pizzas should be enough for a meeting. So if it comes to Useme, if we need a pizza in a meeting, then the meeting is too long. And that's kind of, if we compare it to corporate enterprises, I mean, they like meetings all the time. So we try make people work, don't meet. Also, we don't meet on Fridays after 2 p.m. We don't meet on weekends. And that's because, and that's the last rule we follow, we hustle our own way. So, okay, we do some extra hours. At the beginning of the month, the end of the month, we do some extra hours. Like we have like run a big project. But in the meantime, and on the regular basis, we work 7 hours a day. We don't work Sundays. We have regular holidays, although we don't believe really in holidays on demand, but that's another story. And so we hustle. We try to compete, as I said, in a long-term basis, but we want to make people stay with us for a long time. We don't want to waste them with 2 years of working Sundays. So here we can see people from our team. Okay, that was a party, so they seem to be happy. But as I showed you before, nobody has resigned from Useme since 2017. So I think it works. So that's all for today, and that's all. Thank you very much for your time. I enjoy. I mean, if you want to ask me any question, you can just contact me directly via my email or find me on LinkedIn. I hope you find that story interesting, and I hope some of the hints might be useful for you. And probably, I hope it's gonna be useful for you one day when you need to scale up something with no funds and a small team and limited resources. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great conference, and I hope to see you. Bye.